Lena hit the ground before she even understood that the horse had thrown her. Her horse had bolted like the devil himself was chasing it. Her scream tore through the summer air of Abilene like a gunshot. Dust exploded around her body as she twisted on the hard-packed earth. For a moment she did not breathe. Then the pain struck. Sharp, deep, unforgiving. Jacob Hayes had heard many sounds in his life as a rancher, but this sound made him drop the saddle in his hands. It was the sound of a person who knew she was hurting in a place no one could see or reach in time. He ran across the yard, boots thudding, heart pounding, heat rising from the ground like the breath of an angry world. Lena lay twisted near the corral, her dress torn at the thigh, her leg bent at an angle that no leg should ever bend, her hands clawed at the dust as if she could pull the pain out of herself. Jacob knelt beside her. His voice dropped into a calm he did not feel. "Look at me. Stay with me. Tell me where it hurts." She gasped, her eyes wide, her breath broken. My leg is on fire. Someone was chasing me. That is why he reared." Jacob looked once and knew. If he did not free her leg from the fabric that trapped it, if he did not release the swelling before it crushed the bone and muscle, she might never walk again. He set his jaw. Then he reached for the torn edge of her dress. He did not hesitate. He could not if he wanted to save her. Lena cried out as his fingers touched the bruised skin above her knee. Her body arched. Her voice cracked. It hurt too much for her to understand what he was doing. From the barn doorway, a ranch hand froze. He saw Jacob gripping the fabric at Lena's thigh. He saw Lena screaming, and he ran toward town faster than a frightened mule. In his mind, the story was already twisted, already poisoned, she already ready to spread. Jacob did not notice. All he saw was the wound, the swelling, the dark bloom beneath her skin. He pressed his hand carefully against the injury. He breathed deep. He forced himself steady. "Hold on, Lena. I know it hurts, but I need to see how bad it is." She squeezed her eyes shut. Tears streaked through the dust on her cheeks. Her voice trembled. "Please, just make it stop." Jacob tightened his grip on the torn cloth. He braced himself. He pulled. The fabric ripped. Her pain burst through the yard in another raw scream. And in that exact moment, the ranch hand reached Main Street. He shouted that Jacob Hayes had lifted the dress of a young woman in broad daylight. People stopped. People stared. People listened. Back at the ranch, Lena shook in agony. Jacob leaned over her torn leg and whispered, "I am trying to save you. Stay awake. Stay with me." But the question that would soon spread across Abilene was another question entirely. If no one had seen the truth, would the town believe the man who saved her, or the rumor that promised to destroy him? Jacob could feel Lena slipping. Her breaths came fast and sharp. Her fingers dug into the dirt like she was holding on to the world by a thread. The heat around them shimmered. The air felt tight. Every second stretched thin. He wiped the sweat from his brow. Then he leaned closer to her injured leg. The wound looked worse now that the fabric was out of the way. The skin was swelling fast. Her pulse jumped under his fingertips. He knew what that meant. He had seen it on battlefields years before. If he did not act soon, the damage could steal her future in a single afternoon. "Stay with me, Lena. Talk to me. Anything. Do not go quiet." She tried to answer, but the only sound that came out was a broken whimper. Her face had drained to color. Her hair stuck to her cheeks. Her breath trembled like thin paper in the wind. Jacob looked toward the empty road that led into Abilene. Not a soul in sight. No dust cloud rising. No rider racing toward them. He muttered under his breath, "Where is that doctor? He should have been back by now." He knew the truth, though. The doctor was miles away at a ranch accident that morning. Even if someone brought him a fresh horse, he would not arrive in time. Not for this. Jacob steadied himself. He had done this kind of thing before during the war, though it never got any easier. He needed to pull the joint back. He needed to line the bone. He needed to fix what the fall had broken before the swelling locked everything in place. It would hurt her, maybe worse than the fall itself. But if he did nothing, she would lose the ability to walk. He could not let that happen. Lena opened her eyes just a little. She whispered, "I do not want to die." And something about the way she looked over her shoulder toward the empty road behind them told Jacob she had been running from more than a frightened horse. He touched her shoulder gently. "You are not dying. Not today. Not while I am here." Her lips trembled. Her voice barely rose above the winds. "I cannot feel my toes." That was all he needed to hear. He grabbed a strip of leather from the saddle beside him. He placed it in her hand. "Bite it if you need to. This is going to be rough." She swallowed hard. Her eyes shimmered with fear, but she nodded. She trusted him, even through the pain, even through the fear. Jacob pulled her leg slowly, carefully. His hand shook for a moment, but the memory of war steadied him. Back in the Civil War, he had worked as a field nurse. He had set broken bones for wounded soldiers more times than he cared to remember. He guided the bone into place, inch by inch. Lena let out a cry that cut straight through him. Her whole body shook with the shock of it. The joint finally slid back where it belonged. The pain did not disappear. It only eased a little, still burning, still sharp, enough to leave her breath shaky and her forehead damp with cold sweat. Her breaths slowed. Her head dropped back into the dust. Her voice came out thin. "Thank you." Jacob looked toward Abilene again. He saw dust rising, a rider coming fast. But not the doctor, not help. Someone else entirely. Earlier that afternoon, the ranch hand had run into town and found Sheriff Cole already sitting at the saloon near the gate of Abilene. Cole had been looking for any excuse to stir trouble with Jacob, so the moment he heard the story, he mounted up and rode out before the boy even finished talking. And Jacob knew before he even saw the face that trouble was coming straight for them. But the real question was this: would trouble arrive before Lena could even stand long enough to defend the truth that could save both their lives? Jacob kept his eyes on the rider coming down the road. The dust behind that horse rose fast and sharp, too sharp. He had seen that kind of approach before. It belonged to someone who was not bringing help. It belonged to someone bringing trouble. Lena tried to sit up, but her body gave out and she fell back with a small cry. Jacob moved beside her. "Easy now. Do not push yourself. You are hurt enough." The rider slowed as he reached the yard. Then he stopped right in front of them. The sun hit his badge first, a bright little flash that told Jacob everything he needed to know. Sheriff Cole Maddox. Cole slid out of the saddle. His boots hit the ground like he wanted the earth itself to know he had arrived. He looked at Lena first, then at Jacob, then at the torn dress and bruised leg. He lifted an eyebrow. His smile was small and sour. "Well, well. What do we have here?" Jacob stood up slowly. He was taller, stronger. But Cole had power. The kind of power men like him used whenever they wanted to twist a story into something ugly. Jacob said, "She fell from her horse. I pulled her free. Her leg is injured. I did what I had to." Cole walked around them like a dog sniffing for weakness. In a soft voice, he said, "Funny thing, Jacob. Folks in town tell a different story. They say you had your hands on this girl. Lifted her dress right here in the dirt." Lena forced herself to speak. Her voice cracked. "That is not true. He saved me." Cole did not even look at her. He just kept circling, like he already knew which lie he wanted to use. "You know, Jacob, it would be a shame if this misunderstanding ruined your ranch, or your name, or hers." Jacob felt his fists clench. He knew what Cole was doing. The man wanted control. He wanted fear. He wanted Lena silent so he could remake the story his way. Jacob leaned over her and whispered, "Stay calm. Let me handle this." But Lena shook her head, her face pale, her eyes fierce. "I will not let him twist this. Not again." Cole chuckled. "You are in no position to talk, little girl. Your whole future can be decided by a single rumor, one that has already started rolling." Jacob stepped forward. The tension between the two men felt like a storm about to break. Cole lifted his chin, almost inviting him to make a mistake, almost begging for a reason to drag him to town in chains. And right then Lena whispered, "Jacob, they will believe him, unless we stop him, right now." And that question hung in the air like a heavy rope. How do you fight a man who holds the whole town in his pocket? Thank you for listening so far. If you enjoy stories like this, you can tap subscribe to stay close to the next chapter. And while you relax with your cup of tea, tell me, what time is it where you are, and where are you listening from? 3 days later, Abilene felt heavy, the way a town feels when a rumor grows faster than truth. Cole had spread his version of the story all across Main Street, and by the end of the week, he announced a public hearing inside the church, the kind of heavy that tells you folks are gathering for something they should not miss. Word spread fast that Sheriff Cole was holding a hearing inside the small church near Main Street. He called it a meeting to protect the honor of a young woman. But everyone with half a brain knew Cole never cared about honor. He cared about control. Jacob carried Lena to a wagon and helped her sit upright. Her face was pale but steady. She whispered, "If we do not tell the truth today, he will own the whole story." Jacob nodded. "We will face him together." The church was already packed. Men stood along the walls. Women whispered behind their hands. Every pair of eyes turned when Jacob walked in with Lena leaning on him. A hush fell so fast it felt like the room itself was holding its breath. Cole stood at the front near the pulpit. He wore that smooth little smile he kept for moments when he thought he had already won. He looked at Lena first, then at Jacob. Then he spoke with a voice that sounded gentle on the surface but carried poison underneath. "Good people of Abilene, we are here to understand what happened on the Hayes Ranch. A young woman was found in distress, her dress torn, crying for help, and a man was seen with his hands on her. A few people gasped. A few others nodded like they had seen the whole thing with their own eyes. Cole let the reaction settle before turning toward Jacob. "Jacob Hayes, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Jacob stepped forward. He spoke steady, clear. "She fell from her horse. Her leg was twisted. If I had not freed the fabric and reset her joint, she would have lost that leg. Every word I gave her was to save her life." Cole laughed softly, almost kindly. "Jacob, you expect us to believe that you, alone with a young woman, cutting her dress, touching her thigh." Lena gripped the bench and pushed herself up. Her voice trembled, but it carried through the whole church. "He saved me. He kept me alive. You were the one chasing me. You were the one who scared my horse." The church fell silent, a silence so deep it almost shook. Cole froze for a moment. Then his eyes darkened. "You'd better think carefully about the words you say. A girl who speaks against the law finds herself alone very quickly." Jacob stepped between them. "Not today, Cole. Not with her." And right then a voice shouted from the doorway. A voice no one expected. A voice carrying proof that could destroy the sheriff completely. But who walked in? And what truth were they holding that could turn this entire hearing inside out? And when that unexpected voice filled the church, everything people thought they knew began to crack. Everyone in the church turned toward the doorway. A ranch hand stepped inside. The same young man who ran to town on the day it happened. But this time he looked pale, his hat twisted in his hands. His voice shook as he said, "I saw it. I saw everything." The room went still. He swallowed hard. "I told folks the wrong story that day. I panicked. I thought something terrible was happening, but it was not." Jacob was freeing her leg. She was crying from the pain, not from him. He saved her. I should have said that first. I should have said that loud. A murmur spread through the church, a slow wave of shame and relief. Some people looked down at the floor. Some looked at each other like they finally realized they had been too quick to believe the worst. Then another voice rose from the back. The town doctor had finally returned. He stepped forward with dust still on his coat. His words cut straight through the tension. If Jacob had not set that joint that day, this young woman would not be standing today. He did the right thing. The only thing, that is the truth. Lena closed her eyes. Her shoulders dropped. For the first time since the fall, she felt safe, completely safe. She looked at Jacob, and the room followed her gaze. People who had doubted him, people who had whispered about him, people who now understood how wrong they had been. Sheriff Cole tried to speak, but no one listened. The preacher asked him to step outside. 2 men followed him out. No one in the church stopped them. And no one in the church asked where they were taking him. Some men lose their place because of a single mistake. Others lose it because the truth finally catches up. Jacob helped Lena sit again. She held his hand for a moment, not out of weakness yet, but out of gratitude. Out of something deeper that neither of them said aloud. The church stayed quiet as people walked out, one by one, heads lowered, minds turning over what they had just witnessed. How fast a lie can spread, how slow the truth arrives, how easy it is to judge, and how hard it is to stand up for someone when the crowd is marching the other way. Lena watched the sunlight fall across the wooden floor. Then she said softly, "That feeling, knowing someone stood up for me when no one else would, it stays with you." And maybe that is the lesson for all of us. Maybe the real lesson is simple. When the whole world turns away, sometimes one person who stands with the truth is all it takes. Thank you for staying with this story. If it touched you in any way, please tap, like so more folks can find it. And if you enjoy these true-hearted Western stories, you can subscribe to stay close to the next chapter. Now tell me, what are you sipping tonight? And where are you listening from?